Honored to be joined by Congressman Steve King of Iowa. Hello, Congressman.
Good afternoon.
Why are you here today?
Well, I came here to shoot and just to rub elbows with a lot of good sportsmen from around the country, and it's just a way of supporting our commitment to outdoors and the Second Amendment. So I just want to make sure that I'm here to send that message to the extent I can and have a little fun.
What is your personal commitment to the Second Amendment?
Well, mine is this, and I just gave this speech here last week. It wasn't anything written. It's just what came to my head as I was standing up there, is that a lot of people think that we have our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms because of hunting, because of target, because of self-defense. And I'll argue that none of those things were the reason that we have the Second Amendment. The reason we have the Second Amendment is so that we are an armed populace to defend ourselves against tyranny. It's the expressed reason the Founding Fathers put it into the Constitution. And so we need to remember that. And of the other countries that have confiscated the firearms of their people, America is the last redoubt of Western civilization. We're the vanguard. We have an obligation to freedom in the world to maintain our arms, and then the residual benefits are hunting, target practice, and self-defense. And to the extent that we use the Second Amendment for those three things is also the extent by which we get a broad constituency to support the Second Amendment itself.
Congressman, a liberal commentator like Joy Behar will listen to your answer about the Constitution and say that we have a slavish devotion to the old Constitution. What would you say to someone like that?
Well, what's her plan? You know, what does she believe in? What does she think are individual rights? And by the way, where do the rights come from for Joy Behar? My rights come from God, and so do they come from every American. It was clearly established in the Declaration that we are endowed by our Creator. And so if your rights come from God, only God can take them away, but He calls upon us to defend them. If your rights don't come from God, if they come from government, then government can take your rights away, and who are you to say they can't?
Talk about the state of hunting and fishing and conservation issues, or what are you doing? What are you hearing at public lands? What's the big issue right now that you're working on?
Well, I just think that there's been stronger and stronger support for public lands, and part of that reason is that when I grew up, there was a different family farm on about every 160 acres, and you knew who they were, and most of them knew what kind of pickup you drove, and we could go hunt anywhere in my neighborhood anytime. And I know that I would invite hunters down from Minnesota, and they would put King Construction, my company's decals on their vans so nobody would bother them. That's shifted because of land consolidation and just a change in farming practices, but we get more and more participating landlords. You've got the filter strip piece of this, which really has helped our habitat a lot, and we still have, I think, around 32 million acres of CRP, plus all the things that are done by Pheasants Forever and Ducks Unlimited and all the organizations that expand the habitat. The answer has always been in the habitat, and it's the hunters that have provided the habitat by and large, and that's where the future of sport hunting is in the hands of the hunters.
Congressman, when people say call your congressman, call your senator, do you guys listen? Do you guys get these? And is it sometimes overwhelming to get all the feedback?
Well, we get a lot of information. There isn't any question about that. And we're dealing with perhaps thousands of different agenda items. But what happens is, say I've got a couple thousand items on my agenda and a staff that sorts through that as well. It's like having a stack of papers on 2,000 sheets of paper, all in priority order. Now, when I get a call from somebody, especially if it's somebody that I know, somebody that I've already has established that relationship with, or you get a call or you get a letter or you get an email or they stop into the office, you pull that sheet of paper out of that stack and you put it up at the top of the stack again. So these phone calls do matter, the visits do matter, and building relationships with your member of Congress is really important, or with their staff. I mean, it's surprising in this Congress how many decisions are made at the staff level because there are so many of them to make. Build that relationship, and a lot of times there'll be a decision made and I'll find out about it afterwards, but of course it'll be something I would agree with.
Congressman, tell our listeners, our viewers, tell them about Iowa, why they should come to Iowa, why it's a check your state out in terms of hunting and fishing.
Well, from a hunting and fishing standpoint, I represent the western third of Iowa. And on the north, it's got Okoboji, the Iowa Great Lakes, we call them, and it's a great resort area. But also there are many, many lakes around there that make it good for good duck hunting. And from that corner, northwest Iowa, I'd take you clear down to southwest Iowa. Riverton area, that's about 3,600 acres of, I've hunted that a lot, and it's as good a duck hunting there, and when the season's right, as any duck hunting in the world. And along that corridor, you'll find a high concentration of pheasant population. Further south, quail. There's Hungarian partridge in there. So you can do your waterfowl hunting and your upland bird hunting across a pretty good spectrum of species. And turkeys, of course, everywhere. You can't hardly fight the turkeys off while we're at it.
Last question, sir. How can our listeners or viewers help you do your job on the Hill?
Well, weigh in. Make sure your voice is heard, and bring more people to the sport. If we're talking about Second Amendment defense, bring the young people in. Get them out shooting a little trap, a little skeet, some sporting clays. Take them out in the field and let them understand this deep heritage that we have. And I remember my father took me out when I was a little boy. I probably walked behind him when I was 6 years old. I remember I got a BB gun when I was 8, and I was able to either carry a 410 or a 22 alongside my dad under close supervision when I was 9. That heritage that comes along with it. And Marilyn and I have raised 3 sons. They're in their early 30s now. They're all hunters, and they hunt everything from coyote to deer to every year they go to Wisconsin to hunt bear, and then all of the things that I mentioned that we hunt in our part of Iowa. And those young men, when they had their first kill, I would put my finger in the blood and put a little spot right on their forehead. They remember that first blood experience, and I think their kids will go through the same thing.
Congressman, thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.